Hello, I'm going to make a very quick video of the process that I use to make 9mm ammunition on a Dillon RL550B. This is the press. I already have the appropriate shell plate installed. I have all the 9mm dies. The powder is full enough for 10 rounds. Today I'm going to be using a Lion Unique powder. And the powder bar, or excuse me, the primer system is loaded. I've disabled the low primer alarm because I've only put 11 primers in there. I put one extra. So this is what the setup looks like. This is the empty cartridge bin that'll have the 10 loaded rounds when we're done. But this is just a very quick video showing you the process. So I'm going to get this fairly close, get this camera set up, and take you through this loading process of 9mm. And I'll explain everything that's going on in each step as I go. So these 10 brass that I had, I'm going to move them over here to the other side of the press where they're easier for me to access. Okay. I'm going to take them one at a time. They have the spent primer in them still. They're fresh out of the tumbler. They're nice and clean. They're ready to go. Insert it into station 1. What's going to happen is I'm going to raise the ram, and this first die, number 1, is going to decap the casing, and it's going to resize it. And as this you notice this primer bar is back right now. I don't know if you can see my finger over here tapping on it. The primer bar is back, and as I lower the ram, this priming bar comes forward, and I look right here in this primer cup and I can see that it has a primer. Then I'll push forward on the downstroke. So station 1 is complete. It's been decapped, resized, and primed. Now I'll index it over to station 2, insert a new piece of brass in 1. 1's going to do the same thing. Now 2 is going to do two things. It's going to bell the mouth of the case, and it's going to also charge it with a load of powder that I already have set. The reason I have to bell the mouth of the case is so that it can accept a bullet in station 3. So I come down to neutral. Now station 1, I push forward, boom, I just seated a primer. Index forward, put a new piece of brass into the shell plate. Station 3 now, you'll notice, if you look very close, station 3 has powder. Station 2 is getting ready to bell. Station 1 is going to decap and resize. So I'm going to get real close here so you can see what's going on. Hopefully my hands don't get in the way too much. So station 3 is ready for a bullet. When I reload, I don't get in too big of a hurry. Station 2 is getting a powder charge. Station 3 seats the bullet. 1, decap and resize, and then on the forward stroke, prime station 1. Index, check station 3 for powder. Insert a case into 1. Now station 4 back here is going to be doing something new. There's another die up top, and what station 4 does is it takes that bell or that crimp back, that bell out of the case mouth, and it puts a little taper crimp on it. Now you notice that I'm not going like all fast. Some guys, I see some videos on YouTube where the guys are just screaming through the process. I mean, for one, I already have a progressive reloading machine, you know, so there's not really a need to go super fast. Now in the station 3 right here, before you ever seat a bullet or put a bullet there, make sure that you look down in there and verify that powder every single time. This will save you a lot of hassle. verify 3. Now we're starting to get rounds every time we pull the handle back. You'll get a feel for this machine over time. You'll feel when you're actually seating a primer and when a primer is having trouble. You'll feel it. You can tell. Always check station 3. What you're looking for on station 3 when you're checking, or at least what I look for anyway, is I look for the consistency of the powder charge, how high it is up into the case. And because I already have this powder charge pre-measured, you know, you want to check it every once in a while. Don't just assume that your powder charge is good all the time. Always stay on top of it and check it. I've tried several other presses and I really like this Dillon. Now we'll come over here and I'll show you the completed cartridge bin. I have 10 rounds in there. The last step that I like to do is the inspection of the cartridges. So I'll come out here to my bench and I'm just going to pour them out, set this bin over, and I like to use 2 things at this point. One is a rag to clean them, and 2 is the case length gauge. I like to drop them into this case length gauge. This one happens to be a Dillon model, and what it does is the bullet fits down in there, and if there was any surface sticking up, like you see how I pushed it up, it's kind of sticking up. If you saw one that had anything like that, see my finger, I'm doing it. But if you had one that did that on its own, you might have a headspace issue on your gun. On the other hand, this bullet inside here, you want to make sure that it's not sticking out, you know, towards where my finger is pointing. So that's the step that I like to do at the end. I like to check and make sure each one is fits real good in the case length gauge, that it just drops right in nice and flush, no problems. Drop it right in, make sure everything's flush, that they fall in and out easily, because if they go in this case length gauge real nice and comfortable, they're going to feed very nice through my pistol. Since most 9mm pistols that we deal with out there are magazine fed, you know, we want to use this case length gauge. Like this one had a little bit of a hard time going through, so I'm going to take it aside here, check it out, and rub it with my rag and make sure something's not going on with it. It had a little bit of a rough time, but it wasn't bad. But like I said, okay, now it must have had a little dirt on it or something. There it is. 10 rounds of 9mm ammunition. Very simple process. Now I take them out that I've checked them. They've all went through the case length gauge. Now I just use this little rag and wipe them down a little bit. Make sure they're nice and clean. Clean is definitely something that I like to do when I reload. I like to make sure all my ammo is nice and clean and pretty. You know, this brass. Generally when I put the brass in the tumbler, I leave it in there for a couple hours. And it depends on how dirty it was to start, but for the most part I leave it in there for about 2 hours. And you know, they're pretty clean. You know, I've seen people shine them up a lot better. And you know, another thing that I might talk about while I'm cleaning these up is some people, and I do it sometimes, I still sometimes lube even though I'm using carbide dyes. Technically you don't have to, but yeah, sometimes it never hurts, you know. But like you see that little, whatever that dirt or whatever that is, see, I just rub that off because I don't want that stuff getting into my pistol. I want my pistol ammunition to be very clean. I think this one you see has a little dent in it. That might have been the one that had a little bit of case length problem. I think, I'm not sure. No, fits just fine. So it wasn't that one, I guess. But you want to look at your cases and make sure that they're not splitting or cracking, or you want. And another thing that I forgot to mention is as you're cleaning these, you're checking your primer seat depth. that their primers are seated nice and deep. You don't want them sticking out or, you know, being too far, you know, because then they won't, you know, you might get misfires and stuff just because the primers aren't seated right. But anyway, there you have it. 10 rounds, 9mm. Very easy process, very fun process. You know, in fact, I spend a lot of time reloading. It actually became almost as fun as the shooting itself. But there you have it. 10 rounds of 9mm. I know this was a very short video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them. And if you have any ideas for any videos that you might want to see me try to do, you know, shoot me up on a comment. And if I have the means of doing it, I'll put a video out. So anyway, appreciate you watching my video and have a good day. Happy reloading. Bye.